Hey, yo. There we go.
Hey, yo. Are you here for WCW? Or are you here for the NWO?
Yeah, well, if you ever did anything with the storyline, but that's a different subject.
I don't know. We thought it was cool for a couple of years.
Yeah, until they just never got defeated. You know, it got cool when they went up against DDP because he was like, yeah, no thanks, guys, I'm good. And you would think they would have feuded with the Horsemen, but that's just
Bischoff and Flair never really got along.
Yeah. Let's not make
he didn't
any.
Want to give Flair the rub, and Hogan would always veto losing,
which was really, really stupid because of all the things we yell at McMahon for, doing business with someone he hates isn't one of them. If he can make money off it, for the most part, he goes with it.
Yep.
So too bad Bischoff never figured. You thought he'd have figured that out in the AWA days, but oh well.
He had his nose too far up Hogan's ass.
Not in the AWA days.
But ever since.
That was the tail end.
By the way, I did not know this. Do you know why Hulk Hogan was fired from the WWF? I'm sorry, WWF.
Fired? I thought he left.
No, he was fired.
No, I thought he
was fired for being in Rocky 3. Vince McMahon Sr., wrestlers do not do movies.
Well, that was stupid.
Yup.
At the same time, he had done his run with Andre, and I don't think they had any use for him because he was a heel, and they didn't want to convert him to a face because they had a real problem with, face heels then. If you were a face or you were a heel, that's pretty much what you were. I don't recall in WWF people turning that often. More often you did your run and then you left.
He's good now.
Yeah, that actually, when he came to AWA, oh shit, hang on a second. I got an alarm went off. Bark at me, I'm podcasting. Weather radio telling me it's going to be hot and bad air quality through Thursday.
Oh, yeah.
Tell me something I didn't know. Okay, so in AWA, the story goes, and I think it's pretty good because it comes from Hogan and Gagne, Greg that is. It sounds like Hogan was just ready to give up. The story goes when he first came in, the idiots that were running it broke his leg because they thought he was just a pretty boy. He went away, got healed, came back, and then they were like, oh, maybe he's serious. And that's what got him going. So he had been pretty discouraged through almost all of it. He did his movie thing. He got fired, and he says, I was just ready to hang it up, and I get a call from Vern. Like, hey, why don't you come up? And this was before Rocky. Although they used it, because when he showed up and Johnny Valiant, Johnny V, was his mouthpiece manager. And he basically he took the mic from Mean Gene and kind of pushed Gene and did his blah, 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 blah. And let me tell you, you're going to be talking the escalades of Hulk Hogan. You can trust me because I'm Johnny V. And then they cut to the commercial. So he would dominate the in a heel fashion, the interview. But when Hogan showed up, everybody loved him. He would come in and he would do a shtick where he would wrestle two jobbers for a 5 count. And people liked him. And then how the storyline goes is Brad Ringens, the Olympian, was feuding with the Heenan family. So naturally, it meant every time he did a one-on-one, someone else from the Heenan family would jump him. And so he said, okay, I've had enough of this. I'm going to get myself a partner. And Heenan was laughing at him. Who are you going to get as a partner? And all of a sudden, Heenan looks out beyond the camera. No! Hogan comes in from behind the camera, blocking the camera as he gets in front of it. and basically says, I'm teaming up with him. That's cementing him as a face. And that's what started it going, and then he feuded with Heenan. When Andre came to town, it was him, Andre versus the entire Heenan family, which I think was Big Bad Bobby Duncan, Ken Patera, Nick Bockwinkel, and Bobby Heenan. So a 4-on-2. And I remember, because back then it was just wrestle a jobber and then an interview. And then they do the pay-per-view, you'd go to Civic Center, watch the show. The next show you watch, because the interviews would be right from the back room, or whatever, the hallway that they'd film it. So right after they get out of the ring, they do the interviews. If it was something really important that they wanted to make hay out of, they would sometimes show you a trunciated version of what happened. And that was always the one camera angle with Rob Trongard talking about the action. Can't believe we're doing this. When I started going to the AWA shows, you knew something was big when you saw somebody man that camera, because that means they were actually going to film what was going on in the ring for later use on TV. And of course, the one big difference with the AWA shows, every match mattered. First match was Buck Zumhoff going against Bobby Heenan. Why? Because Bobby Heenan destroyed my boombox. So it was always something going on. Matter of fact, I think I remember the first Battle Royal that had Andre and Hulk in it. Because when Andre come to town, he was there for the Battle Royal. He'd win the Battle Royal, and then he'd leave. Well, he came to town, and Bobby Heenan got in his face. So in the ring, God, what was the deal? I think the side interview was that Nick Bockwinkel had to be in the ring because he had lost to Otto Vance. Do you remember Otto Vance?
No, but I've heard about him.
Yeah, he came from Germany, wrestled, won the title, which amazed everybody. Took it to Germany, and Nick followed him and won the title back. So it was like a 1-month program. Parts of me wondered if it was a mistake, because the way it looked is like Vance sat down on Nick Bockwinkel and got the count out. So somebody might have been knocked out, or it might have been a mistake, but they turned it over quick. And so when Bockwinkel was like, he had signed up for the Battle Royal before he got the belt back. But then he went to Germany, got the belt back, and he said, I don't have to be in the, well, here's the thing. If you don't, Wally Carbo, you're disqualified. We're going to take the belt from you. Well, then Heenan was upset, and so that's okay. The entire Heenan family is going to be in the ring to protect Nick Bockwinkel. And that night, Nick Bockwinkel had a title match, I believe, against Baron von Raschke or somebody, but whatever it was just one of those throwaway matches that they didn't film because win, lose, or draw, it didn't matter. That when the match started, Andre went after Heenan. Heenan threw himself over the top rope, landed on the floor. Andre went after him, by going over the top rope. And when he jumped down, he was disqualified because he let himself over the top rope. That's how they let Hulk Hogan win without taking heat away from Andre. And then him and Andre teamed up against the whole Heenan family. These were just brilliant strategies because you were just dying to get down to the Civic Center the next match. You wanted to see what was going on. And like I said, it didn't matter what was going on. Everybody got their mic time. Every match mattered. God, that whole run with Hogan and Bockwinkel was brilliant. I think I told it in the car with Butch, didn't I? Hogan lost to Bockwinkel, said, I will not come back unless I get another match with Bockwinkel. And then later, like about a week in or 2 weeks in, we just got reports from the ticket counter down at the Civic Center.
Yeah.
Hulk Hogan bought a ticket for ringside. So, I mean, how else to get you all revved up? Because he was fighting Billy Robinson. Wahoo McDaniels. That's who it was. Yeah, and I think I told that story while we were in the car. One of these days, if I can find it, I will borrow you the book on Minnesota Wrestling, because they go through the whole AWA matches and tell you kind of the storyline and what's going on behind it. Spending a lot of time with Lou Thez, because apparently, whether it was by design or in real life, Thez did not like Gagne and would not drop the belt to him, which is why Gagne started the AWA and made his own heavyweight belt.
I'll make my own heavyweight belt with blackjack and hookers.
It worked because he had AWA, he had the Chicago area. They were out on the West Coast, so. But just a fun thing, because I think when Hogan was gone, that's when the Road Warriors showed up. And, of course, they wanted the Road Warriors to be the heels because Crusher and Baron von Raschke had the title, and we cheered the living hell out of the Road Warriors. We had never seen anything like the Road Warriors. It was just amazing.
Well, that's not why we're here.
No.
We're here to talk funny books.
Do we have to?
Yeah.
Well, what I wanted to mention before we start is there's a couple of things.
We've been talking for what? Let me see here. How long? We've been talking for 15 minutes already. You think I'm going to waste this? You think I'm not putting this in the show? You think I'm not going to let these pearls of wisdom of your days watching the AWA go to waste?
Oh.
No, hell no.
To every show. I mean, we'd go to Christmas, we'd go to Thanksgiving. No, what I was going to mention, Cory, what you doing June 26th from 12 to 4 p.m.?
I don't know.
Well, you could
I don't even know what day of the week it is.
You could go down. Well, let's look on my handy dandy calendar. That would be June 26th would be a Saturday. You could go down to Mind's Eye Comic and meet David Yost, the Blue Ranger. He's going to be down there for a signing for 4 hours. Mind's Eye Comics, of course, one of the guys we absolutely love. And Eric, right? That's his name?
Yeah.
I always confuse Eric and Tim. Tim's, Granite City. Very unconfusing. But if you're interested, it's 20 East Traverse Trail in Burnsville. Give him a call. He's on Facebook. Let him know any details, like is he going to be charging? Is he only signing certain things? Me, if I can go, and I probably can't because I'll talk about it when we get into our future stuff. I would that would be the thing to find that photo cover comic book. I mean, I think Boom's publishing it right now, and have him sign one. That would be awesome. So. It was that, or how about what are you doing Saturday, July 31st, Cory?
If it's anything like today, sweating to death.
Well, it could be because the MCBF is having one crazy summer con. It's going to be at the same place, the Mermaid Entertainment and Events Center in the Coral Bay event room. Not that it matters. When you get there, just follow the signs. 2200 Mounds View Boulevard in Mounds View. Entrance is through entry number 4 on the south side of the building. And of course, local artists, creators, lots of vendors. The last one was Gangbusters. I did a quick report on it because I was able to get off work and show up late. I, however, will not be there, which I'm kind of sad about because I really, really look forward to it. So there, you got 2 events, local events coming up that should be fun. But that's not what we're here to talk about.
No, we're here to talk about the war.
Yep.
Oh wait, no, that's Alice's restaurant, isn't it?
Yeah. We'll do Thanksgiving references.
Okay.
Of course, we should mention we had a geeking day.
Yes, we did. Sunday. I think it was the 3rd day that it was insanely hot.
Oh my Lord. Yeah. And it was a bit of a mistake, and I don't want to get too much into it because, as usual, it was me, Butch, and Cory. Our good lady Lisa, unfortunately, was she trucks on Sundays. She's a big bad mother trucker, so she's busy. And anyways, we had the recorder going, but it's not going to be used as an episode for some time, and we'll get into that later. But I just thought we'd cover briefly what we had did, and the haunts we visited, because you know us, we love promoting our local haunts. I, of course,
and one of them we didn't even go to, but we went by it 3 times.
3 times. Well, see, I originally, and I imagine we'll get a podcast out of this. As we record this, Captain Jack's having another one of his, what's he call it, his warehouse sale?
Yes.
He
Except they're not Captain Jack's anymore.
Well, they are. You can find them under Captain Jack's on Facebook. So if you're,
That's not the name of the company now.
No, but that's what they're still. It's the same guys running it. So that's how come when I need to know when it is and where it is, you just look that. But there's also another company. I thought you know
what
it.
do they call themselves now? Because they have a website as well for selling comics. Trying to find what it is. Well, you go ahead and explain what's going on while I keep looking them up.
Well, what had happened is I thought I had made myself clear, and of course I regret the error. Actually, this one wasn't my fault, but I'll regret it anyways, because as we record this, the event where they're doing their warehouse sale will be happening this weekend. So we're not going to talk about it next podcast, because next podcast will be Tell 'em Strode.
Previews?
Yeah, I'll actually have my previews. My box days tomorrow. So we'll talk previews. We try to get that timely. So the week after that, we'll talk about it. Or maybe we'll talk about it in Freaking and Geeking. Because what's interesting is Cory, it's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday event. Cory gets there Sunday because it's just miles from his home. And I won't get off till Sunday. And I
go Saturday because it's right
Saturday,
next to the group home.
Yeah. So, and much because I told Cory, hey, free pie if you want to go on Sunday. Nope. I'll go on Saturday. Not that it matters. We buy different things. But we'll compare what we got, what we found, and all sorts of fun things. So that was when I thought we were doing our Geeking Day. So I get up, and I should have guessed, because this is one of the first times I've ever gotten up early enough to go to an event as it opened. And I was going to the Minnesota Toy Posse's swap. They do an outdoor swap. And it's in the past, but when they do another one coming up, I'll mention it, because they basically do outdoor tables. Last couple of times I've been there, I picked up comics, tons of toys. You run into people you know. It was a lot of fun. I blabbed about it the last time it happened. So I figured I'd get up early. It's 9 o'clock in the morning. I'll get there early and hopefully get out of the heat. Didn't happen, but I was there. And I looked through. I was almost done doing the circuit the first time around. I picked up a couple things. I picked up this is historical too, because we have two firsts. This is the first pop figure I've actually bought for myself to open.
Ooh.
I know, and it was number 80, Spam Can. And I say historic because we'll get into that as we keep going forward, because it was somebody else's first. The other thing I picked up. What I did is my wife called and said, there's some guy here petting my pussy. And I was like, well, are you bragging or advertising? No, I'm serious. Well, what it was is Cory done come over thinking, hey, where's Joe? Let's go geeking. Oddly enough, he was on time. He showed up right at 9 o'clock on the wrong day. And again, I regret that.
So at least I got part of it right.
Yeah. And needless to be, I had already gone around the tables once. There were no comic books. Otherwise, I probably would have brought everybody back to it. I did pick up a Joe Michael Linsner's Dawn figure. This was the one that McFarlane Toys had did in 1999. Really, really cool figure. I mean, at the same time, he did the Danger Girl. He had the Movie Maniacs, the Metal Gear Solid, Curse of Spawn Dark Ages figures. I picked this one up because the one I have is in pieces. I found the figure. I think I gave it to Dana, and one of the arms was busted. Not that it matters. These are plastic statues. You don't play with them, but Anyways, I got one. As I came back, I was thinking, okay, we have one interesting thing about the comic stores in our town. Most of them on Sunday don't open till noon. I was on the road about 9:20. I think I got back to my house. Was it 1:45?
Yeah.
So it was a pretty quick drive, and I'm thinking, what are we going to do for a couple hours? We could go eat. Ironically, Butch was ready to go, which was way different because usually when we go pick up Butch, he's the one waiting. We're waiting for him. So take that, Butch. But I am always planning. Just what do you say, Cory? You always have your backup plans. Have backup plans.
That's correct.
Well, I'm good at thinking on the slide. So I thought, you know what? There's one store that opens at 10. Well, there's a couple stores, but one store opens up at 10 a.m. that I'm ready for, and it was Nerding Out down in Invergrove Heights.
By the way, the company name for Captain Jack's now, mostwantedcomics.com.
Oh, cool. So what's neat about that is I'm just looking for Most Wanted Comics. There it is. They're on Facebook as well. The reason I mention that is because they also sell their stuff online, the good stuff. The warehouse sale is usually all the extra stuff that they don't know what to do with. Still fun stuff to find, but
and you could go to their warehouse at any time. Just contact them ahead of time and set up a time to go visit it.
Maybe we should do that. That'd be kind of fun. So, anyways, we went down to Nerding Out down in Invergrove Heights after picking up Butch, of course. We spent a lot of time digging through their back issues. And what's neat is they have when you buy stuff, you're allowed to spin this wheel. And Cory and I...
Spin the wheel, make the deal. Spin the wheel, make the deal. Spin the wheel, make the deal. Spin the wheel, make the deal.
Yeah, but you didn't spend the 5 hours like Jake the Snake explaining it to Sting. What are you talking about, Jake?
But I spun the wheel and had to get beat up by Abdullah the Butcher.
Yeah. Well, when we spun the wheel, Cory and I both won a video game. And he just gave us $1. We went over to the change machine. And you played what? You played the Ghostbusters? Or did I play
No, I played Ghostbusters pinball.
Yeah. And I played a different pinball. I can't remember what it was. Butch, however, who really likes pinball games, he got something entirely different. And we're not going to say what it is because we want you to listen to the fill-in episode when it drops in a month. Why in a month? That's called foreshadowing, kids. After that, we took a long detour. And I should mention, we were driving Cory's car for one reason. Because I don't have air conditioning in my truck. And I don't mind sweating myself. There ain't no way you're putting me in a confined space with Cory and Butch and watch them sweat. Not happening. So, anyways, we went up to Remix in Forest Lake, which I've talked about before, and I finally got you guys up there. What do you think of the shop, Cory?
It is a tiny, tiny little shop with collectible vinyl, CDs, some back issue comics, some DVDs. Looks like, basically it's a guy who's, from what he said, he does conventions and stuff. So it's his con stock for record shows and comic shows. Just set up in a little space at the back of a strip mall. So it must not cost very much.
No, he says it's really, really cheap.
And it's only open on weekends.
That's this type of store that I envision if I ever jump in again. Just a little store somewhere cheap, selling off collections, picking up stuff, selling it off as well. Mostly my own stuff. And he's very knowledgeable. I mean, he talks the same language. We talked records. We talked comics. We dug through and picked up some stuff. Probably made his day for sales.
Yeah.
So that was fun. I enjoyed doing that. After that, where did we drop to? Oh, we were heading to Dreamhaven, weren't we?
Yeah, no, we checked and Dreamhaven was closed, but you got a message from someone that they wanted to donate some comics.
Well, yeah. Previously, a guy Cory had. Let me double check, make sure I got the name right. Kray. He contacted me, said that I understand you do pick up donations for the MCBF's charity booth, which is absolutely true. Folks out there in Podland, if you have anything you either want to mail to me or you're in the Twin Cities area and I can pick it up, we are looking for stuff because I haven't been picking up anything because of the pandemic. We have stuff, but it's thrice picked over stuff. So we're looking for any and all donations. So Kray was nice enough to drop something off. Actually, by the time we caught up with him, he just left it on his doorstep. And kudos to who must have been his daughter who came out to see three grown men trying to wrestle into this really, really small Kia with a box of comics that her dad left on the steps. She no-sold that like a pro. So we did try to get to Dreamhaven. That's when we discovered it was closed. And
we kept driving by thinking, oh, well, maybe it'll be open this time.
Maybe it'll be open again. Yeah. No, that was actually me trying to find Cory's place because I kept putting the wrong numbers into the Google search. About this time, we always shout out to Heroic Games on Minnehaha because he's not open on weekends either. So we decided go to Comic Book College of Knowledge.
The College of Comic Book Knowledge, which has been around at least since forever. I moved to Minnesota in '87.
They always have something, which was cool. And Cory, I did discover Cory, of course, won because you bought. How many omnibuses did you buy from those guys?
2 omnibuses and 2 Masterworks at half off.
We're not going to tell you which ones because we want you to listen to the podcast when it airs. Drops in 2 months, which we'll tell you about in the future. This show, but I actually gave up one of them that I found. I thought I had the Guardians of the Galaxy. Oh, I'm telling it by Jim Valentino, and apparently I don't. I have the one by Solo Classics. So I made a mistake on that one, and I was going to buy it, and I thought, oh, stupid remembery. So, and I know you had looked at it, and I said, Cory, if you want to buy it, go ahead and buy it.
And it's I did.
Kind of like what Gruber and I used to do. We used to goad each other into buying things. You want it, just pull out the credit card. I don't have to worry about that with Cory. If he wants it, he's going to buy it.
That's why I work 2 jobs, baby.
And now I still got to buy it, but I'll figure it out. It'll happen. Because I figured the next shop we would try to get to, he might have it. And that would have been our good buddy Steve Brown down at Cedar Cliff Collectibles. But we were thwarted. Tell him why, Strode.
They close at 4 on Sunday, and it was already, like 3:35?
Yeah. Yeah. And I know the last time we called him, we said, hey, we're coming up from college. Do you want to stay open? And you could tell he wanted to do that, like having an impact of wisdom teeth removed.
Yeah, he was very much, nope, we close at 4.
Yeah, well, he was
Never
nice
mind
about
the fact that we usually drop, at least
well, I don't think it was.
bucks.
I don't think it was Steve I talked to direct. I think it was just whoever was working for him that day. Either way, that just means the next time we geek, it'll be one of the first places we go. But there's always a backup. So we hit Source Comic Book College. I'm really getting trapped. Well, about this time, we were about that tired too. No, we went to Source Comics and Games. Did we talk about what we did at Source Comics and Game, or did we just kind of have the recorder off?
I don't remember.
I don't think we recorded anything because
I know that right after we were heading back, we were actually gonna stop at Taco Bell, and we saw this pizza place in didn't that used to be like a Super America?
It probably was. Parkway Pizza is the name of it. 1909 Lexington Avenue North, and we were driving.
They were so good.
Oh, they were nice people. I think they were grateful to have people coming in. We were going to go to Taco Bell because everybody enjoys Taco Bell. There's nothing, but then we saw the pizza place. We thought, let's stop in there, and it was a much better choice. What was interesting was when Butch got his pizza, he ate almost all of it. I think the only thing left were the middle squares, and then he realized this isn't my pizza. We're like, what? Oh, this is a barbecue pizza. There's chicken. Tastes good though. And Butch is a gracious man. When he let the woman know that it was wrong and she was aghast, she offered free. Butch said, no, I enjoyed the pizza. And it actually helped them because they had somebody come up who had gotten the pizza Butch ordered. And they're like, well, what the hell happened to the barbecue pizza? But it was fun. We just sat, we talked. We should have brought the recorder in, but we didn't. Butch saved my butt because halfway through I suddenly realized I lost my wad of about $100. And that was kind of, I mean, it wasn't a deal killer, but it's still, lose that type of cash is really sad. And so we get ready to go. We paid. I went outside. And I was trying to debate, God, do I run past the source to see if I fell out of my pocket? I said, boy, anybody find that in the parking lot? It's gone. The one thing that had the saving thing is there was a $2 bill in it. And I'm waiting, and I get over into the shade, and I text Chris, hey, I think we're done. And then blah, blah. And I'm like, where are these guys? I come in, and Butch is like taking off a bunch of ones. He goes, yeah,
getting us some ice cream.
Yep. And then
we found a whole bunch of money.
He didn't even say that. He just showed me the $2 bill, and I was like, son of a, oh my God. He goes, yep, you're buying the ice cream. Yeah, damn right I am. I said, if it wasn't too manly, I'd give you a kiss right on the lips. I was just, so stuffed that money back in my wallet. Oh, wait a minute. Chris got my wallet. Oh, well, it's lost anyways. Being that I don't think we talked a lot about the source, Cory, do you remember what you bought from the source?
I didn't buy a whole lot. I bought a couple of recent books. Now with Future State, I bought the anthologies, and I somehow did not get the Green Lantern issue 2, so I bought that. Marvel Tales actually reprints the Trial of Loki miniseries, which you can either buy a hardcover of $25, or you can buy the Marvel Tales for $7.99. So I bought the Marvel Tales for $7.99, and then I think I picked up a couple of trade paperbacks back in their sales section. They really are good now with tracking the trade paperbacks and hardcovers they have. And unless it's something that's considered an evergreen, like they still have some DC showcases and things like that. If it doesn't sell in 3 to 6 months, they're discounting it, moving it out. Get it out of here.
Yeah, everything is computerized, or all their new comics are computerized. I picked up a couple variant covers, mostly things that I resell, or get, like a couple My Little Pony. I always sometimes get them for my nephew. Picked up a Zippy catalog, which is now on eBay sites if you're interested. It's just a 1980s throwaway, all Zippy merchandise from Last Gasp. I think there might have been, they have a couple of sections with like $2 books. I picked up one Personality Comics, a bunch of Star Trek tie-ins. And I know the guy at the counter was like, oh, I bought these for cover price. You're getting the whole run for $2. So always fun to stop at the source. And like I said, after that, we went to Pika Pizza, and we never really closed out the podcast. So Cory will figure out something. It's in the future. I'll tell you why when we get to geeking. So it was a fun geek day. Any observations or comments, Cory?
The one thing that got me the last few times you and I have gone to shops, I've noticed that on their new sales rack, lots of empty spaces. They are selling out of stuff. And I don't know if that means that the shops aren't ordering enough, or if they're selling more than they expect to. But I noticed at college, their new comic rack, I would say about a good third of the books for last week were sold out.
Yeah. And the other thing to remember too, especially with Comic College, they cater to the pull. They have a huge pull list area. So my guess is they're probably doing what Hot Comics did and what I definitely did with Crazy. They're probably, hey, we are going to order tight. We will try to reorder if needed, but if you want it, put it on your list or let us know you want it. Source is the same way. They got a huge pull list. When they start loading comics on Tuesday night, it takes them most of the night. I've gotten there at 5 o'clock and they have their books. They haven't laid out the new comics on the shelf because they're getting ready to pull for their pull customers. And so even you and I, Corey, we buy our stuff pretty much through Discount Comic Book Service. So if you want it, let your local comic book service know you want it. Do not play the, well, I will pick it up game. Otherwise, you may spend $70 on that issue number 1 of the what was it? Lost Ronin?
Yeah.
Or the Thor that is currently being run. I tell you, it's funny to see all these books we talked about in previews that we recommend that have gone up to number 1. People might be listening to us. And why is that, Corey?
Because we know what we're talking about.
No, this is where you talk about the Google thing because.
Yeah. Well, not a Google thing. It's an Apple Podcast thing. I got an email from Apple. And I thought at first, an email from Apple. They're not going to be happy with me because I haven't bought any. I haven't bought anything since an iPod back in 2008. But no, they were letting me know that we are we are number 163 on the Hobbies podcast, which doesn't sound all that impressive till you realize that A, we don't advertise anywhere, and B, there are thousands of hobby podcasts. And we're 163 and moving up. So if you listen to this here podcast, go ahead, tell your friends. If you don't like it, tell your enemies because it's a real shitty thing to do to them. Spread the word and tell them all about this new sponsor we have. Our newest sponsor is NordVPN. Let's be honest, if you're out on the internet, you need a VPN to protect you. There's all sorts of things going on the internet where people can track you. You could accidentally download a keylogger, all sorts of things. NordVPN gives the best security possible. It has a password manager which generates complex passwords, syncs across all your devices, stores your notes and credit card information. It also gives you 10 gigabytes of private cloud storage, secure files that backs up your data automatically. But the main thing it gives you is peace of mind. It gives you peace of mind when you're out on the internet, when you're streaming, when you're playing games, when you're listening to podcasts like this one. It gives you safety anywhere at any time. It protects your online activity. You get full access to all content. And if you use the link go.nordvpn.net sh3ku, it'll take you to where you can get a great deal for a 1-month plan, a 2-year plan, a 1-year plan. They are our newest sponsor. We're happy to have them. And if you would like to sponsor something here at any of the podcasts on the Solitaire Rose Network, you can. Just email me, solitairerosenetwork@gmail.com. Thanks. Matter of fact, if you want, you can tell them all about all these other podcasts I do. The Solitaire Rose Radio Network is currently on a pause, basically because COVID-19 has made it so that I have to work a lot of extra hours at both jobs. But you can still go and listen to my other podcasts. Now, you're probably listening to Crazy Comics and Stories, which is the main podcast. But on this same feed, KRAYZCOMIX, is Solitaire Rose Radio, the solo radio podcast that I do. I've done interviews, I've done short stories, I've done all sorts of things, and you can get to it right here on this same feed. I also do a podcast called Novelcast, where I take the novels I've written and turn them into free audiobooks. That's over at novels.solitairerose.com. Dangerous Dan Moore and I and of course Wolfie Be Bad, give you bad advice over at badadvice.solitairerose.com. You send in your questions and we give you the aforementioned bad advice. And then myself and Adam Vermillion from For the Love of Comics do the Fantastic Forecast at fantasticforecast.solitairerose.com, where we go through the issues of the Fantastic Four, 4 issues at a time, to give the plot and commentary on each issue. That's not all. Yes, I'm crazy. I still, over at pwinsiderelite.com, every week on Wednesday, do a recap of the latest episode of AEW Dynamite. I write up what happened, and then myself and Anthony Pyrus will do an audio. Now, you can only listen to the audio if you're a member at pwinsiderelite.com, and if you're a wrestling fan, you should be, where we then break down the episode, talk about what we liked, what we didn't like, give it a grade, and let you know if you should have watched that episode. Those are the other podcasts here at the Solitaire Rose Radio Network. Thanks. And I was pretty excited. Now, I'm not one of those people who, we're better than this person because we have more listeners, or, you know, we're going to drive these people out of business. There's more than enough room for more podcasts. Marvel keeps adding more podcasts over on Sirius, where, you know, how Marvel's doing those audio dramas. If you subscribe to Sirius, you don't even need to bother to buy them because they're going to put them up as podcasts on the Sirius XM app. I'm trying to get us on the Sirius XM app, but they don't seem to be interested. So maybe if I tell them, hey, we're 163 with a bullet. No, that might come off as a threat because I don't think anybody remembers back, you know, when they had the Billboard chart and, you know, this is number 21 with a bullet meant that it was going up fast. Who knows if anybody even still uses that terminology or if it died when Casey Kasem died. Now, I don't listen to Top 40 radio anymore. Does Shadow Stevens do America's Top 40 now, or is it completely gone?
I have no idea who does anything on Top 40.
Let me take a look and see. America's Top 40. Because I know on Sirius, they actually will have the old episodes.
Yeah.
They still do it. Let's see, who is the host now? They show a picture of the guy who's the host, and I don't have any clue in the world who that is. It is Ryan Seacrest. That should not surprise me at all because he does everything. Kim Kardashian wished ex Kanye West happy birthday in a long-distance dedication. That's sweet. You know what would be fun to do? I'm going to go down and see if I've heard of any of the songs in the top 40. So let's see here. There's the top 40. Going down. Still looking. Still looking. Nope, not a one. Don't know any of these songs. Which, you know, let's be honest, probably shouldn't surprise me at all.
We're old.
Well, I haven't listened to Top 40 radio probably since I was in high school. Even by the time I was in college, it's like, I don't want to listen to this crap.
I can always tell when Holly has been in my truck because she changes it to, I think the only Top 40 station we have is KDWB.
KDWB.
Used to be KDWB 63, which was AM at the time.
I only know that because at the group home, one of the clients that we had would listen to Top 40, and I would listen and not know any of the songs, but because they're Top 40 and regular radio station, you know, terrestrial radio, they would have all the different jingles. And I remember as a kid, that's how you knew what station you were listening to because they paid a bunch of singers to sing the call letters of the radio station you were listening to. WLS Chicago. Of course, you know, for where I lived, Canton, Illinois, no, they couldn't afford the singers, so they would just have the announcer go, this is WBYS, AM and FM. And I was on WHEN, Macomb, Illinois.
You see how Cory, you're like, everybody's like, what happened to his voice? He slipped into his DJ mode there.
Oh yeah, you have that FM radio voice.
Oh yes.
And there were two. They would actually teach you a number of different voices. The FM voice was more smooth because the sound was better on FM, and you didn't have to be loud. You could just. This is WHEN FM. We're going to be playing some Yes, followed by Jethro Tull, and the entire second side of Led Zeppelin 4 coming up later today. Whereas on AM, you had to be loud because there could be static, and if there was a storm within 50 miles, you'd be interrupted all the time by static and electricity. And it's so exciting to be on AM.
We need some soul gritty, soul changing, rock and roll. Oh yeah.
It is Friday night on WHEN, Macomb, Illinois. It was weird how they would tell you to do that, depending on which side of the band you were on. They don't do that anymore, though. Although there is the NPR voice.
Yes.
Thank you for. This is NPR, where we're going to be interviewing a poet. And oddly enough, we're going to get better ratings than every other station in the city because if you want to listen to music, you're not going to be listening to any of the local stations because they play one song and then 7 commercials. And people who listen to NPR, they are too old to listen to podcasts or satellite radio. You know what? One thing I remember in some of the last time before I quit listening to terrestrial radio altogether, on KQRS 92, the DJs would actually go on and on about how, no, don't listen to CDs because you could, while you're putting in a CD or you're changing songs or doing this, you're not paying attention to the road and you could get in an accident. And I swear they would say that about at least once an hour. Because they knew their listeners were like, yeah, I don't need to hear the same 5 Rolling Stones songs over and over again. I'm just going to put in a CD. No, don't do that. You'll die. Or even in the 90s. Remember when country music stars would go on talk shows and beg people not to buy used CDs? The one I remember was Garth Brooks went on the Tonight Show crying that people were buying used CDs so that his family, they were taking food out of his family's mouth. And I always thought that was funny because here's one of the richest guys on the planet. And after somebody's done with the CD, they sell it. And that's what I think some people don't understand. Once I buy something, I can do what I want with it. I can sell it. I can give it away as long as I don't break copyright law.
Supreme Court says so, baby. You can even make copies for your own personal use.
Yep.
Personal.
But
little
even
gray
now,
area, of course,
there's some
burning a copy for me.
There's some doofuses out there who, I sold this person a book that I did, and now they're abusing me by selling it online for money. Look, if I buy your book and I'm done with it, I could sell it.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to. You're not going to get paid for it 5 or 6 times. That's one of the things. That's why record companies and everything, they're trying to get away from DVDs. They're trying to get away from CDs. They want you to pay for monthly streaming. They want you to pay for monthly subscriptions. I think one of the studios, Warner Brothers, has said that they will no longer make DVDs. They will license out their archives, but they themselves will not be making any more DVDs because they want you to buy HBO Max, I guess. See, that's one thing. Comics, they have their streaming services, but they want you to buy them, baby. Buy them comics.
And sell them like I do.
But I already have this comic. Don't care. Buy it again.
Buy it again. I've already done it.
Buy it as an omnibus. Buy it as an epic. Buy it as a trade paperback. Buy it as a archival
digital copy.
Well, Marvel at least gives you the digital copy.
they did. I don't know if they do anymore.
Yeah, they still do.
Do they? I haven't seen
Yeah.
the little digital code thing. It must be somewhere else in the book.
And I wonder if, Joe, you're the reseller. You do the collectible stuff.
I do.
If I open up that little digital code thing, does that drop the price of the book? Does anyone care yet?
Nobody cares yet, but it's supposed to, because what happens is it's not something you can take the code off and then put the thing back.
Right.
It curls up and falls out. It's just like way back when Image had the Image Zero, or Malibu had the Malibu Zero, where you would go through the different books, cut out the coupon, gather 4 or 5 of them, and then mail it off and get something cool. Because a lot of people back
By
then
the way, they don't send you, if you cut out those coupons and send it now, they don't send you anything.
No, I don't know. They might, just because they're silly people. But
no, because I sent stuff to Malibu and it came back that they'd been out of business since 1990.
Yeah, but Image is in business. I imagine if somebody put together a whole run of Image Zero coupons, they might find something from their vault. I'm not saying they will. I'm just saying they might. But even the Malibu ones, there was one book that was super late, and you needed it in order to get the Bravura stamp or whatever it was. That was their self-published line.
That was their line. What it was, there were a bunch of companies that after Image hit, there were companies that went, well, why don't we get big stars and let them do what they want? Dark Horse had the Legends line, and Malibu had Bravura. And the problem with Bravura, if I'm pronouncing it right, was a lot of it was stuff that had already kind of come out and failed other places.
Yeah. Well, and some of it was unique. I mean, we found that there was a Return of Dreadstar, Breed 2. Well, Breed actually had 2 series from Jim Starlin. Edge by Stephen Grant and Gil Kane, which is unfinished to this day. Although iBooks released a hardback collection of the first complete series. Man Called Axe by Marv Wolfman, Metaphistique by Norm Breyfogle, Nocturnals by Dan Ariton, Power and Glory,
which is getting a hardcover that we talked about in the last previous episode.
Power and Glory by Howard Chaykin, Star Slammers by Walter Simonson, which was unfinished until the series moved to Dark Horse, and then Strike Back, which was from Jonathan Peterson, Kevin McGuire, and Steve Oliff. That was unfinished, although apparently did finish at Image. Now, the reason I mentioned the unfinished, because they had this deal where you had this card, and then each one of these comics had a stamp. And if you filled the stamp card, you'd mail it in and get a special limited comic, whatever it was. And the problem was with these unfinished series, and I believe they were unfinished because of the creators, not necessarily Malibu.
Yeah.
They weren't able to do it. I do believe they did finish it for people. And while I'm going to put that in Bravura Kamek stamps and see, because I mean, Lord knows we waited years to find out who won the what was it?
Well, there was the You Can Be in Superman 2. There was the $1,000 Toys R Us spree.
Yeah, we found that out finally.
And then they gave away a bike, and no one knows who won the bike.
So what you would get is a Bravura #1 gold stamp program book.
God!
And it would the one I see on the eBay is signed by Ernie Colin, and I don't know if it was signed as part of the deal or if it was just I see some other preview books. I see there's a foil Zero that you can find. So I know every so often in my collection of crap I find like the stamp card. I never pulled the stamps out, but I do recall that, especially when Image did the same thing to get an Image Zero, that people would buy like 2 copies of the book. And then later on, when you were selling the book, you had to indicate if the stamp or the coupon was in it or not in it. And nowadays, I don't think anybody cares.
No.
Because the books there were so many published. In the case of Bravura, I don't think anybody cared. I mean, the Dreadstar was kind of cool because, Jim Starlin, he's still doing Dreadstar. And these are creator-owned books. So again, if you want to see them, talk to the creators and see if they actually cough them up or not. But the line only lasts from 94 and disappeared by 95. So it wasn't all that big.
No. And it was a lot of the older creators looking at what Image did and saying, well, we tried this and it didn't work. Maybe if we try again. Because I remember First was a big deal in pulling a lot of name creators, Howard Chaykin, and others, and then Pacific, and then Eclipse, where Neil Adams and Jeff Jones and Bernie Wrightson and people like that, and it never really took off until Image, and I always thought it was because everybody at Image went at once and it was a big deal, whereas a lot of the people in the 80s who went over to indie books had kind of left comics altogether and then came back, like Frank Brunner at Marvel, huge deal when he was involved in Howard the Duck and the relaunch of Doctor Strange, and when they instituted the new work for hire rules in 76, he said, no, I'm not doing it. I refuse, and he quit. And then he came back and did Warp at First, but that was 5 years later, and by then he published portfolios and things like that, and I think that he just kind of fell off the radar, and when he came back it was not a big deal. It would be like if Todd McFarlane had quit comics and then 5 years later showed up and did Spawn. Would he still be as hot, or would people have moved on? Because if you look at the Image guys, by 5 years into Image, all their books were dead due to poor sales, except for McFarlane and Eric Larson. And Eric Larson's stuff, while it's gone on and he makes a living at it, it's never been a huge seller. I remember when we were getting raw numbers and Savage Dragon was barely selling 10,000 copies. Now, because he also sells the art and goes to conventions and monetizes the back issues with the archives and stuff, he's able to still make money doing it. But he may actually lose money on the individual issues and then make it back up on the sale of the original art and conventions and things. Whereas, when Neil Adams left and came back, I remember the sales on his first book when he came back, which was Skate Man, believe it or not. Yes, that was his first book through Pacific. Sales on that were through the roof to shops. And boy, they were in dollar and quarter bins for all of the 80s because shops got stuck with them. They were terrible. And then Ms. Mystic came out, and the first issue came out, and it did okay. But then the second issue was 2 years later, and by the time that happened, it was like, ugh. Shops had learned their lesson. It ended on a cliffhanger. When did issue 3 come out? 4 years later, and by then you had to actually put it on your pull list because shops were like, "No, I'm not bothering with Neil Adams. I still have a case of Skate Man over there if you want some goddamn Neil Adams."
Hey,
but Image is really the only one of those where the artists are going to pick up and leave that actually worked. And I wonder if, one, it's because they all left at the height of their, popularity, and two, they did it as a group.
Yeah, I think it's both. So what is the only Marvel Bravura comic that was never completed?
Well, you said Edge.
That was it.
Yeah.
Everything else eventually got completed elsewhere.
Gil Kane had to go back
If
to DC in order to get paid.
if you go to comicchecklist.coolpage.biz or just look for Bravura checklist, they have a really cool checklist of everything, telling where the series, if it started, like Dreadstar started by Marvel in their Epic line with the first comics.
Although that's not true. Joe, where was the first story that fed into the Dreadstar universe?
Well, I thought it was first a Marvel Epic graphic novel. Oh no, wait a minute.
Was it
No.
before that?
It was Epic Illustrated, the magazine.
Before that.
Was it before that?
There was a book before that.
I thought it came out after that.
Nope, The Price.
Well, now I got to check because I know of The Price.
Eclipse, which was about the wizard who is in the Metamorphosis Odyssey.
Okay, I'm just trying to see here when that was published. Because, yeah, that was the graphic novel. Then they did put it into Dreadstar Annual in the 83.
Then there was the Metamorphosis Odyssey in Epic. Then the Dreadstar comic. And then they reprinted The Price as a Dreadstar Annual.
Yeah. So in Epic Illustrated, it started, let's see, first there was The Price in 83. And then the first Epic Illustrated, no. Metamorphosis Odyssey started in issue 1, which was spring of 80.
Oh, okay.
The Price was 81.
Okay. So it was
but a lot of
going
people
on at the
didn't
same
know
time.
about it because it was published by Epic. And then the next
Eclipse.
we saw,
It was
I'm sorry,
published
Eclipse.
by Eclipse.
And then the actual comic was done as part of the Epic comic line. So that's why when Annual came around, that was probably people's first time they saw that. I don't care. I've got his omnibuses sitting in back, and he's working on doing a fourth one with Peter David's stuff. So, and then he'll come out with a slipcase, and that way I'll be able to put everything into a slipcase.
I wonder, he mentioned that he was working on a TV series. I wonder if that's still alive or not.
My guess is no, because he's just finished up his current run with Dreadstar as part of a Kickstarter. He's soliciting it outside of Kickstarter, even though the Kickstarters haven't shipped. So that's probably going to be done. Oh, Cory, by the way, if you got $36, you can buy on the eBays right now a Malibu Comics Are You Fan Enough Bravura stamp cards and the display that it came in. Somebody somewhere still has the whole thing still shrink wrapped. So that's what it did. Came in at probably a display that's set up. Here are the cards, and they all have the issues. So you were to buy the issues and put the stamps in. And one of these days, when I find my copy of Dreadstar from Bravura, I'll look and see what the stamp was. If it was an actual insert or a peel off or a cut your comic off.
It was a peel off. I remember
that.
A
peel off? Okay, because
yeah.
I do remember image people buying 2 or 3 image books because they wanted the zeros, but they'd pull the coupon out because theirs was just an insert in the middle. You could cut the coupon out, or people just yank the whole insert out. And like I said, back then people would care. Is it in it? Is it not? And we all blame that, of course, on the Marvel stamps. With default.
And one of the problems I had, the Marvel stamps, they were going to do, when you had that Marvel mini comic thing that came out, they were also doing the Marvel value stamp book, which was going to have both of the value stamp books and articles on what you would get when you sent it in and things like that. But they canceled that book. They did print the Marvel mini comics, but they did not ever print the Marvel value stamp book. And I always thought the Marvel value stamp was more interesting because that was something that was in all the comics. And for the life of me, I do not know why Marvel did it, other than, because normally when you do something like that, it's okay, we're going to harvest your addresses and you're gonna be able to buy merchandise. And Marvel never did anything with the addresses. So if they were harvesting addresses, they didn't use them.
I thought they did do the book. I thought I saw them at one of the cons because Graham Cracker had two of them. One was filled with stamps and one wasn't. And had they not been insanely expensive, I might have just bought them just to.
Are those
are
those the originals?
I would assume so, based on
Yeah,
the
because they were
price.
going to do a reprint like that Marvel mini comics box set.
Oh, that's right, because you and I ordered them and they canceled it.
Yeah.
Bastards. Although they did get the little book that had the bubblegum things.
Yes.
Where, it was proof the first team up between Spider-Man and Superman.
Yep. That's the Marvel mini comics.
It happened. I am looking for the actual card for the Bravura stamp card thing, and I cannot find an image of it anywhere. I can find the books. Somebody actually has a picture of the inside where the program's explained some of the different things, but not the actual card, other than the one guy who has it. I know I have one somewhere in my collection of crap. So if I find it, we'll revisit it. I'll throw it on the Facebook somewhere, because we're all about, coming back to things we promised.
We are.
Just go with the flow. They'll never.
I thought that's Butch's job now. He's going to listen to all the old episodes and let us know.
Well, there's been other people. I mean, Tim at Granite City chewed you out the one time, and Lord knows Dana was pretty PO'd at you for something you said.
No, Dana wasn't PO'd at me for something I said. She was PO'd at me because when she was a child, she spilled something on comics we were pricing. And I was like, God damn it. And she was like, no, I'm the princess. I can spill on the comics.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I do not remember that at all. Do not remember it at all. I do not dispute that it happened. But I don't think it was ever, how dare you? It was more, oh, damn it. Kind of like when I spill stuff here at home. That's why I have
a cat to lick it up anymore.
Yeah, I don't have a cat to look it up, but I do have ShamWows.
That's true. You bought tons of ShamWows.
You know why? Because Nick brought in to the charity booth. He bought Nick Post, who ran the convention for a long time, was co-owner of the Source. He confided in us that he was a sucker for infomercials, to the point where what's the guy, Billy Mays? He had hired Billy Mays to come up and do a commercial for the Source, but Billy Mays passed away before he did the commercial. But he brought in, he had like 10 slap chops and a stack of ShamWows because he just went nuts on them. And who was the woman from Superman 2 that one of the comic shops brought in?
Oh, I'd have to look her up. I don't remember her name.
She played Ilsa, the evil Kryptonian. Every time she walked by, I tried to get her to buy a slap chop. Didn't ask her once about Superman.
Sarah Douglas.
Didn't bother her about anything. I just, because she would say, well, what are you guys doing here? It's like, we sell stuff for charity. And that was back when you decide what you're going to pay. And remember, it all goes to charity.
Stick. Yep. And you have read on your ledger. You know you got to make up for it. You tell me what you want to pay for it.
And she looked at the slap chop and was looking it over. So every time she walked by, I go, slap chop's still here. And all the money goes to charity. I can't take it on the plane. Yes, you can. Put it. You just don't put it in your carry-on. Put it in your other luggage. The knives are all they're in plastic. She never did buy a slap chop. She bought other things though.
Oh yeah,
not the slap chop.
Yeah, she was fun.
But no, I bought a bunch of the ShamWows, which are basically just like rayon rags, because rayon, for some reason, picks up water easier than cloth. And they were like $1 each, so it's like, oh yeah, I'll buy a bunch of those so that I have towels for cleaning up messes. They're great.
By the way, if you want to check her out, Sarah Douglas, who we're talking about, Deborah Kennedy and Hannah Munson, will star in Tara, Tremendous Season 3, which is the adventures of Tara Carl Callahan, who, after accidentally acquiring all the superpowers in the universe, begins training at Power University. I'm trying to figure out where the heck. Well, the trailer is going to drop on June 25th for season 3, but it doesn't quite say where you can find it.
You know what else I don't think we're going to get to, Joe?
What's that?
I don't think we're going to get to our reviews this week.
You mean I drank that whole bottle of cider for nothing?
I read a whole bunch of comics.
I did too.
But instead,
you figure because next week we'll do previews because we try to make it timely. And
timely
after that,
I don't think they publish comics anymore.
Maybe the week after on the 22nd, Chris will also be talking about stuff we found at the warehouse sale. And then the 29th, I don't know.
Well, you know what you could tell people about, Joe?
How you shouldn't miss the latest in theater news by BroadwayWorld.com.
No, how you should be going to Joe's eBay site. What's going on the eBays?
Oh, that's right. You already did your lots of stuff on eBay.
I'm smarter than the average bear. I snuck them in a different place.
You did. Cory,
because we're out of control. We've taken the format, we've thrown it out the window. Talking about radio, we just threw the format out the window.
Talked about wrestling.
Crazed.
Cory, tell the people about Buffy.
Buffy's a cheerleader.
I just said tell them about Buffy.
Yeah, she's a cheerleader.
Nope. You're wrong.
No, I'm not.
You are. Because the Buffy I'm talking about is the 4-issue series from Eros from 1995 to 1996, whose writer-artist is Dementia. That's what they go under. And
yeah, she's basically that's their real name.
She's basically a bosom bonded buddy who basically is a victim of the moral majority. You have to help her by buying her comic. Otherwise, she is tied up. Her mammoth mammalian protuberances are put in all sorts of painful ways. Does she care? Hell no. In issue 4, she's blowing a bubble. Very, very expensive comics if you can find them.
And also, Joe, why did Eros Comics exist?
I thought it was to keep Fantagraphics in business.
That's correct. Fantagraphics was getting sued by, first they were getting sued by Michael Fleischer because Michael Fleischer thought that in his interview with the Comics Journal, Harlan Ellison had defamed him. Then after that lawsuit, Harlan Ellison sued Fantagraphics because of how they treated him during the lawsuit. So they needed a quick cash influx. The first thing they did in order to get that cash influx was to create Amazing Heroes, and then they had it go bi-weekly. Then Wizard came along, pretty much killed Amazing Heroes. And by that time, porn comics were selling. You had Cherry Pop-Tart, which then became Cherry. You had Vortex published Black Kiss by Harlan Ellison. And Fantagraphics actually put out an ad to comic creators saying, every comic creator has a dirty comic in them, and we want to print it. And that is where one of the greatest comics of all time came from. That's right, Wendy Whitebread, Undercover Slut by Anton Drek. We have no idea who Anton Drek was.
Don't confuse. Well,
you
could tell by the art style if you're paying attention. I want you to make sure that you don't confuse Buffy with Buffy, the Vampire Layer, who also was an Arrow's comic book. So very confusing. A lot of these weird series were actually published in like graphic novel format. So if you have a shop around that actually carries these things, or if you wander over to the adult section on the eBays while they're still there, you might be able to find them. You want to know what else is really expensive, Cory?
Crack and hookers?
Pretty close. Beautiful Stories for Ugly Children.
Yes.
Remember that one? Yep. Piranha
Press, which had one of my favorite comics of all time, Cotton Candy Autopsy.
Not every one is expensive. This run, Beautiful Stories for Ugly Children, Piranha Press, which was an imprint of DC Comics. A lot of them were David, how do you say his name? Louprey and Dan Sweetman. It reads off Atomic Avenue. If you ever like Daniel Mathis, Pinkwater, or any demented fairy tales for that matter, you'll love this book. Just as the title implies, it takes beautiful stories but adds a bizarre twist throughout, juxtaposing the classic storylines with the grotesque, the impossible, and the downright weird. First issue price is about $24. Some of the middle ground ones, $50, $30. The last issue retails has a near mint price guide for $265. It only went 30 issues. There's copies for $1. Somebody's got the whole run for $500 on eBay. And of course, there's 3 books that published most of it. The one you mentioned, Cotton Candy Autopsy, is in book 1.
Yep, that's the first issue.
And so I have a few issues. They're going up on the eBays. They're not going quite that high. So if you are interested, you can let me know. But now you know if you're digging through, because most of these I find sitting in the dollar boxes because nobody cares. But those who know, basically, let's see, anything after 15, definitely anything after 18. Because my guess is they probably didn't run very well, but maybe they just
didn't sell for shit.
And maybe they just had a contract to do it at we're going to finish at 30. Whatever. But now you know, you're in the know. 2 more comics we've mentioned. Well, 3 if you count Buffy. Not Buffy. But you want to know some of the things I sold, Cory? Have you heard of Gravity Falls?
Yes, it's a Cartoon Network series.
Yep. No, Disney Channel.
Oh.
But, it's on a cable thing. I never knew anything about it, but Dana had a book based on Gravity Falls. It's an American mystery comedy animated TV series created by Alex Hirsch for Disney Channel and Disney HD, which is where it is. Ran from 2000 to 2016, following the adventures of Dipper Pines and his twin sister Mabel. They spend the summers with their great uncle, or Grunky as they call him, in Gravity Falls. Now, the series would finish with its 2nd season. It wasn't being canceled. It was being finished, according to the creator. I had a 1-hour finale. And apparently there was a book that was called Gravity Falls Journal 3. I don't know if there were other journals. There was some that were like super rare collector ones you got directly from them, and then there were other ones that were mass market ones. This one I got from Dana, and it was really cool because you open it up and it looks like somebody's journal that these kids just wrote all sorts of random things. Apparently you use this journal as you're watching the show, and it would help you figure out what's going on, which I thought was brilliant. Type of interactive thing. Nowadays they'd probably do it online or have something with it, but again, talk about things that very, very popular that go up. Of course, not as popular as Secret Wars 2. That's Secret Wars TOO. I think we've talked about this. The Secret Wars event was when the Beyonders destroyed all reality and Doom made Battle World. Secret Wars 2 was, right from the Beyonders' words themselves, we are beyond, dreamers, destroyers, all of reality our whim. And frankly, we get bored. Secret Wars 2 had tales from across the multifarious domains of Battleworld, not of heroism or consequence, but humor, providing a brief respite from the millennia of omnipotence. And I had a copy. Some guy bought a bunch of books. That was just one of the oddballs that was in it. Speaking of oddballs, say hello to our buddy Paul. He bought some stuff off my eBays. I cut him a good deal. One of them was Action Comics number 700, which had a gold variant cover. This was the one way back 1994. It's got Superman holding back the Daily Planet globe as it's rolling slowly towards, Lois, Jimmy, and then some poor schmucks who are way too close that are going to get steamrolled. Nice job there, Superman. I actually had mine graded. I only got an 8.0. But now Paul has it, so I don't have to worry about it. Another mini series or another regular series called Lady Mechanica. It's basically the tabloids that dubbed her Lady Mechanica. She's the sole survivor of a psychotic serial killer's 3-year rampage through London. She was found locked in an abandoned laboratory, or should I say laboratory, amid countless corpse and body parts. With her own limbs amputated, she was replaced with mechanical components, and her life began anew. The few books I've read of this, I've enjoyed thoroughly. Really, really good stuff. Tons of different variant covers. That's what I found, but you can find it all in graphic novel form if you're so inclined. I mentioned a while back I made a big deal at the last MCBF Con with Granite City. Got a bunch of books from them. One of the first ones I sold was X-Men 2099 #1. I don't know if we've ever talked. I know we've talked 2099 books. X-Men 2099, of course, was part of the whole 2099 thing that started in '93 and disappeared by '96. Atomic Avenue reads, "It didn't take long for the world to destroy itself in greed and selfishness. Following the corporate wars, a few huge megacorps would control most of the world's wealth and technology. Once they held power, they would seldom hesitate to ruthlessly use it to their own ends." And that was, of course, in 2099. And, of course, there's an enclave of outcasts, rebels, mutants, T-Gens gathered in a supposedly deserted town of Nuevo Sol. I'm not going to read any more because if you really cared, you'd go out and dig up the 35 issues of it. The one I had was signed by both Ron Lim and Andy Kubert. And the gentleman who bought it is overseas. So you won't be seeing the likes of it again. Cory, did you buy or read any of the 2099s?
I did. I liked Spider-Man 2099 by Peter David.
Me as well. There was Punisher.
I loved Fantastic Four 2099, which was by Carl Kessel. And the gimmick of that was not only did you not know if they were the real Fantastic Four that had been shunted to 2099, they didn't know. Ravager 2099.
Well, don't give us some suspense. Was it? Was it them?
I don't think they ever answered that.
Oh, wow.
Because it only lasted a few issues and then the whole 2099 thing collapsed.
Yeah, 8 issues. And then they had a return to it.
There was Ravage 2099, which was Stan Lee, who... Now, have I told the whole story of the creation of the 2099 universe?
No, I've only got like 4 more books to talk about. So yeah, tell us about it.
All right. So when Stan Lee came to Marvel because he was working mostly in Hollywood and stuff, trying to sell things, and he would sell the rights for one thing. Yeah. Spider-Man, one of the reasons we didn't get a Spider-Man movie for so long was he sold the movie rights to one company, video rights to another company, cable rights to another company, on and on and on.
Oh, and a lot of them went out of business, so they all got tied up in, well, we have the rights because, rights are actual tangible properties in the world of filmmaking.
But he came to Marvel with an idea to do a series set in the future. And the way it was going to start, he and John Byrne were going to do a graphic novel. And then it would spin into a number of series. Well, let's put it this way. The story at the time was that Stan Lee and John Byrne didn't get along on it. But knowing John Byrne, John Byrne didn't get along. He took his art and stomped over to Dark Horse. And that is the 2112 graphic novel he did that then led into The Next Men. But they had already started work on all these 2099 books, so they went ahead with them as a separate imprint. You had Spider-Man 2099, X-Men 2099, Punisher 2099, and then Ravage 2099, which was the one character that Stan Lee had created, which out of all the books, that was the worst. Punisher 2099 was okay. X-Men 2099 was it was okay. And Spider-Man 2099 was actually pretty cool. The other series,
Peter David wrote a lot of it. Peter David wrote a lot of the Spider-Man. That's probably why it was pretty cool.
Doom 2099 had some early Warren Ellis stuff.
Doom was interesting too, because was that considered Doom, or is it just like FF? We don't really know.
I would have to go back and read. I remember that was one of their gimmicks.
I'll
Doom actually took over the world
Yeah.
for a while when the sales were starting to go down. They were like, well, we can do whatever we want. Let's have Doom win. And then Ghost Rider 2099 was one of the later books, and it was a real early cyberpunk comic that was really well done. But again, none of that stuff lasted. They tried a 2099 quarterly book, 2099 Unlimited. They tried a few times to goose the sales toward the end. I think Peter David actually left Spider-Man 2099 before the end.
Yeah. To answer the Doom question, they did towards the end, and this would be Doom 2099 issue 25, say it was him. Although now, of course, the way alternate futures are wishy-washy, timey-wimey, it's an alternative version of Earth 616 Victor Von Doom. Whatever. So sometime in the future, Doom's in the past, Doom went to 2099, blah, blah, blah. And I don't find anything definitive about the Fantastic Four, although I thought it was a cool gimmick that, yeah, sometime in their traveling, hey, we ended up here and we're going to hang around for a bit. And then we go back.
Well, you know what else, Joe? We're at an hour and 24 minutes, so now we're going to go over to my favorite part of the show.
Well, I was just going to mention the other two things we haven't talked about was the Big Con Job by Palmiotti and Brady, because I had the miniseries from Boom that came out in 2015, and of course you can find it in a book. Basically, it ties in after working the same convention circuit for many years, a group of flabby action heroes, aging sex symbols, and sci-fi bit players have become close friends, and so they decide, since their lines are getting shorter and their autographs getting cheaper, their only chance at a comfortable retirement is by robbing the largest con in the country. And it was a fun book, fun read. And then, of course, The Gift, a first publishing holiday special from 1990, which is basically they put together everybody being published by First at the time, including Dreadstar, Nexus, Badger, I can't tell who's back, Grimstar. Grimjack, I'm sorry. And although it's there's whatever. The point is although it features a lot of the artists and writers you'd come to think about, the various segments weren't integrated very well, and that's probably why I found this in a dollar bin and sold it for a really, really cheap price. But if you want to see what else is up, and again, I'm only talking about the stuff that we've never talked about. I mean, I've been selling tons of stuff, and of course, what I love to do is just like our good buddy Paul did. He not only made an offer on a couple items, but he also said, "Hey, would you take an offer on this?" And I ended up selling him like a Plastic Man Archives, really cheap, Justice Inc. number 4, which was the DC 1975 Avenger, Richard Benson, the pulp guy. They only did 4 issues before they brought him back. And there was some other things he bought from me, but he made an offer and I gave him a good deal. You want to do the same? You know what to do. KRAYZ. Come get some.
And now it's time for my favorite part of the show. No, not where I shove ice cubes down in my pants because it's still 90-some degrees outside.
Ugh.
No, it's Freaking and Geeking. Joe, what are you freaking on?
Yeah, the aforementioned MCBF show coming up?
You can't go.
That I talked about? I can't go. And you know why?
You got to work.
No, something more
What?
interesting. But I'm going to save that for the geeking part of the show. I am going to pick a bone with you, Mr. Strode.
Oh, what did I do now?
Oh, I set up this wonderful, timely-wimely, wibbly-wobbly joke about when we're going to drop, because I knew I was going to be gone for going up north, so I figured you'd be using the fill-in episode this week and then the actual episode the following week or whatever. And of course, you ran them out of order. So rather than enjoying the joke a la Arrested Development, it's just, nope, there's Joe going off on a tangent again. I tell you, the best minds of my generation were buried by 300 pounds of the hardbound copies of The Naked Lunch. I'm telling you, folks, you just don't know what it's like working with Cory. Mainly because Cory does all the work. I just show up once at work and do my Jerry Lawler impersonation, then I'm gone. What was that number we made it to?
We are now at episode 514.
I mean, how high are we on the iPad Apple list?
163.
I'm still impressed with that. Yeah, that's the first time my wife's been impressed with the podcast when you told her that.
Oh,
so I'm kind of.
Well, wait until we pass The Simpsons in the year 2024.
Oh, now we're talking.
We will have more episodes in The Simpsons in the year 2024.
And I'll tell you this, I will hang at least until I retire, which will be February 6, 2025. So you got that going for you.
Which is nice.
And finally, I'm really depressed because even as we talk, a couple of weeks ago I went to the mini state fair. Well, I'm eating the last of my Sweet Martha cookies. I'm really depressed about that. God, they're good. Cory, what do you depressed now? Good.
The temperature right now, 91 degrees. Tomorrow, the high is going to be 93. Thursday, the high is going to be 97. Friday, the high is going to be 93. Saturday, the high is going to be 90. Sunday, the high is going to be 93. Monday, it's going to be down to 84. But I want to point out that I think it was like 3-4 days ago, they said that the heat wave would break on Thursday. Now they're saying the heat wave is going to break on Monday.
But have they stopped saying that the humidity is showing up on Thursday, Friday?
What I'm looking at just gives the temperature, and I got to be honest, I am not ready for it to be 96
Considering it was, what did you say? It was like 30 degrees a couple weeks ago?
Oh, yeah, it was a couple weeks ago. You would have your heat on at night. And I remember it was within 2 days, because there was one night where the heat kicked on, and I had my heat down at like 55. Which meant that it got to 55 in the house. And then 2 days later, 95 degrees. I am not built for 95 degrees. I am definitely not built for 97 to 100 degrees. I hate this. Normally we get this maybe in July or August, but it's very much this year, it just boom right out of the gate.
And the bad news is right now it's kind of a dry heat, which means we don't have high dew points, so the humidity is not bad. However, it's going up. It's 63. The higher it gets, the worse it gets. 70 is being in the tropicals. And we're supposed to get a little bit of thunderstorm, but that's just enough to cool it down to that 80 degrees Cory talked about. But it's going up, and the humidity is going up. And I don't have AC in my truck.
And the other thing is that they're talking about how, number of days in a row over 90 degrees. We may actually beat the record from 1936. Joe, what happened in 1936?
Oh, wasn't that part of the Great Depression and the massive Dust Bowl?
Dust Bowl.
Yep.
Comic-wise, I've noticed that some of the sales charts are starting to mash things together, but they don't have actual. And here's the weird thing. They say they have actual numbers, but nobody's printing any actual numbers, because now for the sales chart on ICV2, they use the POS sales.
Piece of shit?
Yeah. Not point of sale, but.
Oh, piece of shit.
But Diamond has gotten pretty lazy about putting out their, top 300 or 500 or whatever. If you go by Diamond, Marvel has 60-some% of the market. If you go by other stuff, DC has anywhere from 20 to 30% of the market, depending. But whenever I look at what DC's putting out, the thing that bugs me is that fewer and fewer and fewer and fewer books that aren't Batman books. And you can't blame DC for that because, hey, we put Batman on the cover, it's going to sell. We have any of our other characters on the cover, no one cares. So the market is failing DC. And I think part of it is that DC has hit that reset button a whole bunch of times to the point where if you pick up just a regular, a non-Batman Superman book, it's really confusing that they've reset their continuity 3 times in 10 years. They put out a Green Arrow origin book less than 10 years ago. It's all completely invalid now. I'm trying to get back into DC, and I am picking up the number ones. And again, I like that DC is changing up their art style. I like that DC is bringing in some outside writers. And but man, it's like, oh, I want to pick up the Flash. And I start reading it, and it's like, I don't have a clue what the hell is going on, and I've been reading comics for 30 years. It's almost like, they talked about how they did Crisis because people were confused between Earth 1 and Earth 2. I'm confused between Post-Crisis, New Earth, 52 Earth, Rebirth Earth, and Death Metal Earth. So, Joe, what are you geeking on?
Cory, what you doing Sunday, June 27th from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m.?
Probably laying in my bed going, oh, I don't have to work. This is wonderful.
Well, if you got $6, we could go to the 44th Northland Vintage Toy Train Advertising and Pop Culture Show at the Progress Center at the Minnesota State Fairgrounds.
Ooh, Progress.
I know. And advertising, too. I may actually go to this just because I've always wanted to, but it's always been on days I work. But I'm free. And I'm kind of curious to see what they have because it's vintage toys. I like trains. And it'd be fun to see the pop culture things. So if you feel like geeking, give me a call. Although, he's like, well, let's see, I worked all night. I worked all day. I think I want to sleep. I got to do things like eat and laundry and shopping. Yeah, slacker. So just let me know. Let's see. What else am I geeking on? I am impressed with Discount Comic Book Service. I know people always give them grief, but I contacted them because, first of all, I mentioned earlier, Cory, that I did not order. For some reason, I thought I did, but I didn't order Incredible Hulk by Peter David Omnibus Volume 4. There are actually 4 omnibuses I'm looking at to get this year, or this preview cycle. Apparently it's actually, I can order it this preview cycle, although I don't recall seeing it in the Marvel's catalog. But then again, I picked up one free when we went through the Comic College because they just had them on their freebie rack. So I figured, well, rather than wait till it shows up tomorrow, I will just pick it up and look through it now. And then I looked through DC, and then I had to go dig through my omnibuses to make sure, do I need to order this? Did I order number 1? And I was like, after not ordering any omnibuses for months, I'm going to get a whooping. But that's actually going to be fun. Let's see. Oh, and I talked about why I was so ominous and why I can't go to the MCBF show. I have mentioned in the past, Dana, the eldest, has been accepted to grad school out in Reno, Nevada. And consequently, she's dumped a ton of stuff on me, the aforementioned Gravity Falls. And they were trying to figure out how to get their stuff out there. And I made the suggestion, if you want to rent a truck and fly me home, I'll drive out with you. And they came over last night and over a good dinner from what's wrong with me? I had it on a hang on a second here.
4 divided by 7.
Chris? Chris? Oh, where did we eat last night? Bronson's. Thank you. There, I got it. She knows everything. Bronson's. Out on Hain Avenue. Delicious. We've been there several times, and Chris picked up the meal, brought it in. We had some mixed drinks, and I cracked open a bottle of Charlie's Blend, which is one of my favorite places up north, the North Shore Winery, right next to Lutzen, 202 Ski Hill Road. You can look up North Shore Winery. We were there a couple months ago, and they had just had a brand new cider that they had based with some blueberries. And it was like, oh, that's really good. Oh, but we just made it. We don't have it bottled yet. Oh, well, that's okay. We'll be back. Well, we were back the following month. So I picked up some Charlie's blend, cracked it open. Basically, it was outstanding. All their ciders are made with Minnesota apples. And although they do get a little government warning here, whoa, this stuff causes birth defects. I better watch what I drink. No, I drank the whole bottle. So if you're heading up north, if you want to bring me back some Charlie's Blend, I'd really appreciate it. But we planned out the entire trip. Unfortunately, not enough time to visit all the multiple comic stores we're going to be passing by on the way to Reno. But we will. There are 3 where Dana is, and she said she would bring them to me. And then after we have a mini vacation in Reno, we're going to drive down to Sacramento because the kids want to get some IKEA furniture. IKEA. And then we found flights are cheaper out of Sacramento than they are out of Reno, which is weird because I thought Reno would have been cheaper, but go figure. And then, of course, once we committed to the tickets, I told Chris, why don't we just drive down to Vegas and catch some really cheap flights home? But we'd already committed to the tickets, and we're like, whatever. We got a couple months. But that's where I will be. Dana's going to move the last week in July, and it's going to I probably won't get back till midway through the first week in August. So Cory will take the aforementioned geeking trip, and he told me I could probably get 2 podcasts out of that, or maybe we'll do another fill-in or something. And either way, we are committed to making sure you get some podcast goodness every week, at least now through February 4th, 2025. So
I better start the auditions.
What I am also geeking on.
What?
I found one more Sweet Martha cookie. I'm going to eat it now. Cory, what are you? Goodness. What are you geeking on, Cory?
I actually got all caught up on Miles Morales, the Spider-Man, on the Marvel Unlimited app because I had not had time to read a lot of it. It is a really good run. They're playing with the fact that the Marvel Universe Miles Morales is running around. They do some family stuff. They mess with the status quo, but all in all, it's a really good comic that I enjoy a lot. And I'm glad that I read it in bunches because there's the second story arc. I could not wait to read the next issue. The creative team did a really good job of having cliffhangers that made you go, oh, I got to read what's happening right now. I also like that one of the new villains they created in the Miles Morales Spider-Man is already showing up in other books, in that he is being used in the Iron Man annual, which when we do reviews, I'll review that. But one of the problems that people say about comics now is that nobody really creates new villains and new characters because, well, there are a couple of reasons. One, new characters have trouble getting some traction. And 2, why would I give Marvel a character when I could save it and do it for something I own? Well, I like the fact that there are some people at Marvel who are like, nah, I'm going to throw some new characters in. I've also been still reading that Marvel Kirby Love and War. I'm now up to the Sergeant Fury stories, which even as a kid, I was not the world's biggest fan of Sergeant Fury. And even though it's Stan and Jack and they're both using stuff from their time in World War II, except it is really, really, really lightened up. Because let's face it, Jack almost had to have his feet amputated during World War II from frostbite. So I doubt that would go well in the sort of slapsticky books that Marvel was doing at the time. But the only thing I've learned, this is a mini freaking, a lot of times it's real easy to tell that they were having so much fun doing the book that they would get to like 2 pages left, like, oh crap, we got to wrap the story up. Okay, Nick Fury escapes from the POW camp and is able to solve all the problems on the last page.
Cory?
Yes.
I have a mini freaking.
Oh, what's that?
I'm out of Sweet Martha cookies again.
No.
Yeah.
Well, I would have said, you could have broken that cookie in half, then you could have one now and one later, but I know you don't.
Hang on. If I read Deathmate, I could.
What are you? Are you like one of those dogs
that
that throws up and then eats its own puke? I've stunned him into silence, ladies and gentlemen. I never thought that would happen. I have stunned him into silence.
Busy. Can't talk now.
It was really fun to get out and go places with everybody, even though, it was super hot outside. And, but it was nice. Since the pandemic, most of us have not done a lot of socialization. And I know people who have spent so much time with their families that they're really looking forward to this summer where they could, oh my God, I'm taking a vacation away from all of these people. But I've kind of worked on, been out here on my own. And while we still have to dress in the full PPE at the group home, things are loosening up. And I still don't want to go to like movie theaters and things like that, because when we were out and about, I have my vaccine. Joe has his vaccine. Butch has his vaccine. But nobody was wearing masks. And I got to tell you, a lot of these people with their red Trump hats, pretty sure they didn't get a vaccine. Pretty sure of that. So
even though he spent a lot of time getting the vaccines prepped and prepared and bought them.
No, he didn't.
They don't want them now.
No.
They don't want them. Don't want them now.
Remember, he's the one who under-ordered so drastically that when Biden came in, he was like, crap, where are all the vaccines they told us they had?
To be fair, Europe under-ordered too. That's why we are all of a sudden well more vaccinated than the rest of the world.
Yes.
Yet undeveloped areas are getting their asses handed to us. So
yeah, like Mississippi, Alabama.
Well, it's like when you talk about it, especially in terms of the group home, we're not done with it yet.
Oh no, there will be another wave this fall,
and not the friendly "Hey, how are you doing?" wave. The okay, I am going to put myself bar the door with my 500 gallons of chocolate soda and box of Pop-Tarts, and I'm just going to read comics till this all blows over.
Yep.
And it'll probably be like sub 100 degrees, judging by the way the summer's going.
Oh, let's hope it. Let's hope this is the big heat wave for the year.
I'm telling you, you can't touch your shiny black comic books or graphic novels. You're going to leave a big thumbprint right in the middle of them.
So believe it or not, kids, you have listened to us blather on about funny books and completely go off the rails for an hour and a half.
Woo-hoo. I like trains.
And as we say every week, the comic we like the least, we still like better, and the comic that you like the most. Joe?
Go hang a salami. I'm a lasagna hog. Cory, do you know what? If you know what that? Take that sentence, spell it backwards. You know what it says?
Yeah, it's the exact same thing.
Yep. Go hang a salami. I'm a lasagna hog.
It's a palindrome.
Hit my music.